Okay, YouTube, we are back today doing a sort of a follow-up to the video Thoughts on the So-Called Gender War. There were specific comments that Stacia wanted to address that were left on the video, so we are doing that today. Alright, go ahead.
Hi YouTube. I just wanted to respond to a couple of comments and also to correct myself on some of the things that I said in the first video. The correction really was when Nicole asked me, does gender war exist in the Caucasian community? And I said I really didn't know, but in all honesty, when I put thought into it, gender war has existed outside other black communities, exists in all races and all ethnicities and all over the world. And it has existed before slavery, and it's existed before centuries, especially with men oppressing women in that manner and just not really being an equal ground. As far as what we were actually discussing that day, does it exist within the black community? Yes, it does. Is the root of it slavery? If it existed before slavery, it's not the root, but what slavery has done has added new factors and new psychological issues between men and women, which would make the tension or us not being in harmony with one another as well by slavery being added. So it definitely heightened the whole issue outside of what other races may be dealing with. Someone left a comment that said, well, if slavery was the root of black gender war, then how is it that it seemed to only come into play that we really had these issues in the 1970s and 1980s when the family was more intact in the 1940s and 1950s? Whenever there's a problem or whenever there's an issue or when something is really blown up, it takes a while or it takes a period for that issue to come to a head. So what we're seeing in the 1980s, what we're seeing in the past decade, especially in 2009, we're seeing the worst form of it. Now if we look in the 1940s and 1950s, the black woman she was not as independent as she is today as far as financially. And she was more dependent on her husband or for a man for financial support. And there was also a mentality where she felt that she needed to, or not to say that she didn't want to, but it was more so a need to stay at home, because if your husband was doing something wrong or ill, it was not really as socially accepted to get a divorce as readily as you have today or in the 1970s and 1980s. But you had a lot of mistreatment of women in the community, women across the globe, but I'm black, Nicole's black, we're talking about black people, so that's why I'm going to focus in on that. But you had a lot of mistreatment of black women. You had grandpa sleeping with Liza down the street, having another family in another neighborhood, and come to his funeral, oh, who's that? That's Little Willie. That's my brother. And so now people are being called out. So if you have this going on, it's not right. It's not natural. And if you have these situations going on where you're mistreating the mother of your children, you're mistreating your wives, you're in essence mistreating yourself, and you're raising children that are going to be adults in the 1970s and 1980s, and when you have this surge of feminism and you have this surge of women starting to become more independent financially, then you're going to see women being able to leave the husband or being able to feel like they're more independent. So men continue to do the same thing, which they have had done as far as definitely adultery and a lot of other issues. Then the family is going to be broken down even more physically in our eyes in the 1970s, 1980s, and up to the present. So the family, yes, you still had two-parent household more so in the 1940s and 1950s, but there was still something wrong. It was still a mistreatment of women. And another issue that definitely took place between 1950 and the present is integration. And when we were segregated, we had more of a dependence upon each other. When we were integrated, then we started to add just a lot more issues to the situation. And one of them dealt with still the tension between men and women. Nicole, any question?
No, I just, I understand what you're saying, and I think that's a great answer, because when the guy posted that comment, I said to myself, well, that's something to think about. But that's what I had come to the conclusion, too, after I thought about it, that it was still there, but women didn't have as much as an outlet as we have today. So women just kind of dealt with things, which I think we're still dealing with today. Women
Right.
still dealing with stuff and just thinking, well, if I don't see it or if it's not in my face, then, whatever. And not to say that's the only part of the gender war is cheating or,
Right.
philandering or whatever. But I think that's a main part of it. And I just agree with what you said. I think that's good commentary. So you done?
No. And so it also connects with slavery in the sense that I don't know why when you mention slavery, when you mention black, that people get upset. Like, that's an excuse. It's not an excuse. It's really understanding.
It's a reason.
Right, why something is going on. What slavery did, if you take a black man and treat him as an animal and a woman, and you have the black man go from shack to shack and tell him who to sleep with, then that creates a very detrimental psychological breakdown in his mind and also in the woman's mind, as far as what your worthiness is as a man and a woman. So that stayed with them even in the 1940s and 1950s, and it in a way became socially accepted when it wasn't right. And anything that's not right is going to come out in the light, and it's going to have an adverse reaction. And that's what we have today in the present. And someone else made a comment that said, well, you guys only deal with that in America.
Right, that's what I want you to address that.
White Americans and black foreigners do not do that. And this one really bothered me. Really bothered me because, one, unless this person is not a part of Earth or is not a part of the human species, the ignorance is really phenomenal, because all over the globe there is a gender war, as I said before. And I don't know what country, and please let me know what country you're from. Not to say that I've been to every place, but I've been to India, Morocco, Ethiopia, Canada, Cuba, Costa Rica, and we have the same issues between men and women.
Black men and women? You saw that between black men and women, or?
Oh yes, people approached me. People approached me, especially as being a black female, as if I was a black prostitute.
Okay.
And
these were black men.
They were either it depends. If I was in India.
Right. Okay. I got you.
And not all the Indian men, because it was the difference between even so-called black Indians or the dark-skinned Indians, or the Dravidians or the Indians that originated from the Dravidians. It was just a difference in complexion, like the lighter Indians or the ones that were higher on their totem pole, the higher class. And I was covered, had my head covered. It wasn't necessarily I was present. Even if I wasn't covered, you still don't have the right to approach a woman in that way.
Exactly.
But that just really behooved me, because number one, I would also like to know where you're from, where you have not come in contact with Caucasian people, and where you have not been, if not physically colonized, but not mentally colonized by them, as if white people that are mean only exist
in America. Right.
Because we really need to stop that. We really need to stop the foolishness. I've been to countries such as Ethiopia, who historically has never technically on the books been colonized by Caucasian people, but they have been mentally detrimented by Caucasian people, just like any other country in Africa, all or across the globe.
Right.
So please, let's just really stop and say that's an issue dealing with black Americans, because it's not, and it's really a lie. You still have clitorisectomy going on in a lot of countries. You still have actually women in other countries. Probably would not be able to survive, because I would probably be in jail. And a lot of it has to do with what? Gender.
Let me ask you this. One time they said on Oprah that American women are the luckiest women alive. Do you agree with that, considering you travel to other countries? Not that America is great and on this big totem pole and at the top of but as far as the treatment of women, do you feel like there's more leniency here, or we've got more avenues to get things straightened out, to get things done, to stand up for ourselves here in America?
I don't really think it's a straight yes or a straight no answer. Because one, if you have to compare it to a specific culture, because of course, even within one country, you still have different subcultures of people treating women differently. You have one that you would want to say is a little bit more progressive, and one that isn't. And it could easily be argued, even with women's status in America, we still have a problem, even in Atlanta, as women and men, we're still not getting it.
Right.
We're still single, we're still lonely, we're still, a lot of us, we still are raising children by ourselves, where a lot of women in other countries may not be, they may not have such a high rate of that.
Do you think the 70% single rate is true? I mean, do you think that's a true stat?
70% sounds high, but it's believable, but it just, to me, I haven't done my research on actually the statistic, but it sounds very high. Sounds, I think.
Okay, say it's true, which, as many YouTubers know, I don't think it's true at all. Say it is true, just for argument's sake. Why do you think it is? Or is that another video?
Yeah, probably.
Another video. Okay. Well, we can come to that, but just can you give us a short synopsis? Why do you, if it is true, why do you think there is a 70% single rate among black women?
Among black women?
That's a supposed stat that's out there.
Well, with everything, with the mistreatment of women, with the and not just mistreatment of women, because there are a lot of women that mistreat men. So it's just not, we're not seeing eye to eye. We're not seeing eye to eye when it may come to religion. We're not seeing eye to eye when it comes to what a man's role is and what a woman's role is. We men and women, I still believe, have different roles in a relationship.
Right.
So what feminism has done, or the feminist movement has done, it, in a way,
I'm just laughing because I know some brothers are going to come in this video and be like, ooh, I can't believe you Atlanta sisters friend.
We just have to have a balance within everything, and I think what the feminist movement has done is it took something to an extreme.
So you think black women have bought into...
I don't sing the song, and I like Beyonce a lot, and I know Nicole's an avid fan, and I would buy her record, but I don't, independent, all my ladies, that's my song, but really, I don't care. Okay, to be an independent woman, it's not really cute, it's not really something, I bought this myself. I would love for a man to take me out to dinner. I would love for a man to buy me. And to me, that is the role of a man, to do for a woman and to pursue her. And if you come to the table, I got this, that's not cute.
Well, I understand it. So you think that black women have bought into feminism?
Oh, yes. And
this is foolishness.
And like I said before, with the integration, has really messed us up even more.
Oh, my God. This is foolishness.
We do need men, and men do need women. And we're going to take out, as far as the dating thing, yes, there are factors that men are in jail. There are factors that there are down low brothers. There's also factors that there is a very high homosexual rate, not only amongst black men, but amongst black women.
Right.
It is very high. Then you have a very high bisexuality rate. Right. So you have a lot of that going on. So taking out that factor, which is a very large factor, men need women and women need men.
Oh, definitely.
And there's a certain way that we have to know how to relate with one another. And I just don't think the way is necessarily that we need to be arguing or trying to get the man's position.
Oh, definitely. But when push comes to shove, a sister has to do what a sister has to do.
Of course,
so but some people will say it like women want that role. Women would love to have a man to take the so-called man's position. But in this real world,
if you're not raised that way, if you didn't see that, and if you don't have trust in men, it's very hard to let that show.
Right.
It's very hard to let. Even for myself, my mother used to tell me, Stacia, it's okay. People want to help you.
Right. I understand.
Okay. The guy has to carry your books. No, I got it. Well, we know you got it, sister. But can I help you out?
Right.
So just say, you know what? And it's a good feeling, but once you're used to doing things on your own and seeing your mother do things on her own, and it's really hard to change once you're 30, once you're 40, and say, okay, what's the problem? And the same thing with men. Once you see daddy sneaking out or coming in for a late night run,
you think it's okay.
Right, well,
that's what I think.
But girl, you know I love you because you're the only one I lie to. I mean, I've heard it all.
Right, okay.
I tell the other women how it is. It's the truth. They know I got a girl. That's buffoonery.
Right.
It's buffoonery and ignorance.
Okay.
And you're going to wake up and go to church on Sunday. We need to stop.
Okay. All right, this has been a good interview. We will definitely pick up later. I'm sure the comments are going to roll in on this one. And, great.
And again, please, the one who made the comment about, black porn, please let me know what country you're from, and I'll give you more factual or more statistics on your specific country, because that just really behooves me.
Okay.
Thank you.